Hey, it's FMT100. You've made it back. Yes, we're in Unit 1, but this is Section 3, Ladders and Scaffolds. Yes, this will be the last section for Unit 1, then we can move on to other fun things. So, one of the nice things about literally anything in doing with industrial maintenance, uh, you're always going up. You're always moving up. That's one of the nice things about the career path I like. So, no, you're not getting any money. It's just you're going up in elevation or down in elevation. And most of the time, we get to use ladders to do that. So we've got tons of different ladders out there: wood, metal, fixed, fiberglass, and steel. Most of your fixed ladders tend to be steel because it's durable, and whatnot. But if we need a portable ladder, 9 times out of 10, we're probably going to be using a fiberglass. Fiberglass ladders uh, they're insulated. They don't conduct electricity very, very well unless they're wet. Um, then it's all bets are off. Metal is nice depending where you're at, but metal conducts electricity, and for most of the time, most of our stuff is going to be requiring that we're testing or interacting with electricity in some form or another. So metal's kind of off the board. Wood used to be the standard. Wood kind of sucks. What happens with wood is when it's wet, it conducts electricity quite well. Wood also breaks and tends to be heavier than sin. So wood has fallen out of favor and it's been replaced mostly with fiberglass. And then we've got different types of ladders, A-frames, extension, the list kind of goes on. So this is just a general overview of ladders and ladder safety. All right. So when you're going up and down a ladder, we're going to be using the 3-point contact method. And 3-point contact means as you're going up or down, you have 3 points of contact. You either have two hands and 1 foot in contact with the ladder as you're bringing your foot up, or you've got 2 feet in contact with the ladder as you're moving one of your hands up or down. So that is the 3-point contact. Consider overlapping and whatnot. The fun part is whenever you're on a ladder, you need at least 3 points of contact, which does make working on a ladder, or I should say working from a ladder, a bit of a problem. And one of the other things you're going to want to keep in mind is you need to stay kind of in the same plane as a ladder. And what do I mean by plane? Well, here's this. You can't lean to either side too far, nor can you lean back too far, or else you increase the risk of falling. So the general rule of thumb is your belt buckle, or the top of your pants, however else you want to say it, that front button, that belt buckle, needs to stay between the rails of the ladder. So the rails are the long vertical rails that are make the ladder up, that go up and down, and then the rungs are the steps that go in between the rungs, the rails. So if you've got to switch position, like I've got to twist over here, well, remember you can only twist so far, and then you're going to have to reposition the ladder because your belt buckle has to stay between the two rails, and you can't twist like 90 degrees because then you're going to have a foot dangling out in the breeze, and you can't hang on to the ladder and have a foot dangling and an arm trying to do something because that's considered barn dooring. And if you think about it, you've got your foot on a rung, you got a hand on a rung, and then you've got a foot out in the breezes, which means it's just dangling in the air, and then you've got your other hand trying to do something. You've basically now made yourself into a hinge. And it doesn't take much for something to come by and upset you and turn you like a barn door and have you just kind of fall out. Not good. So if you've got to twist further out than you really should, yeah, you're going to have to come down off the ladder and reposition it. So ladders in that sense kind of suck. If you have to do a lot of work and you're going to be in a spot for a long time, and you're going to be twisting around, the recommendation in that case is going to be get a platform ladder. So you're going to lose height, but what you gain is a small working platform that you can do a full 360 on, and you'll always have 2 feet firmly on a surface, on a platform, and you'll be able to do your work. They are expensive, but they are well worth the investment, especially once again if you're going to stay in one place for a long period of time. The other thing I'll also ask is if you're using an extension ladder, which we tend to do quite a bit, if you are extending up, remember you can extend the ladder as far up as you need to get, but you're going to lose some of that height because for every 4 feet of height you're going up, the bottom of that ladder needs to come out 1 foot away from the building. This was definitely illustrated on canvas, so I want you to go back and look at that nice little graphic there. So for every 4 feet vertical, you need to have the bottom of the ladder 1 foot away from the wall or the imaginary vertical plane that would be a wall. So if your ladder's going up 8 feet and you're making contact 8 feet above, the bottom of that ladder needs to be kicked out 2 feet from the bottom of the wall. All right? I know it sounds stupid, sounds trivial, but that is what needs to be done. That gives you the best stability of that ladder and gives you the ability to maintain that 3 point of contact. All right? So let's get on to the real fun one, scaffolds. So scaffolds, temporary, sometimes movable, that we can stand and work on heights. We've got the 3 types: pole, sectional, metal frame, suspension. Thank the gods, I've never had to work from a suspended scaffold. Thankfully. I've been in a bosun's chair, which is not the same, thankfully. But a suspended scaffold for like window cleaners. Yeah, never had to deal with one. Now I've done the pole and I've worked off of sectional as well. Those are fun, and depending on the height, once you get above 6 feet, you may be required, depending on your company, you may be required to be tied in, and that's going to start getting into fall protection. So depending on what you're doing, you may need to have a fall protection harness going, and you need to make sure you're properly tied in. The other catch is with something like that, if you're at 6 feet, then you're going to use what they call a positioning strap, not a positioning belt. I should call it a positioning lanyard. Fine, we'll call it a positioning lanyard. What this will do, it will prevent you from going too far in either direction, essentially, so you don't go too far off the scaffold. The scaffold should have rails that will prevent you from doing that, but that positioning lanyard is just there as another reminder of, hey, you're kind of stuck on the scaffold and you don't want to go anywhere else. The further up you go, then you're going to have a fall limiting lanyard, which is not the greatest sensation in the world to have, but what that lanyard will do is it will slow your last few feet of descent, so you're not snapping like a yo-yo. Yeah, I know there's no other descriptor for me to say it. So you've got that. The other lanyard you may bump into, or what you may go and have to use, depending on the scaffolding, is a positioning belt. And a positioning belt, it kind of looks like a climbing harness a little bit, except the attachment point is still in the front, but it's a little higher up and it's a little beefier than just a regular climbing harness. So it's got a nice D-ring to tag into. And for that, you're going to be using a positioning lanyard again, and that keeps you in a set area, and that you cannot extend past the edge of the scaffold. And you'll also use positioning lanyards when you're working at heights, any height above 6 feet that doesn't have any protection. So there's no roping or anything else. So if you're working in a situation like that, you're going to have a positioning belt and a positioning lanyard, and it's just going to keep you so you cannot go past the edge. So you can't go past the working edge. All right. So that's the good news for scaffolds. Some individuals will also throw in lifts. They will throw lifts in with the movable scaffolds. I kind of see why they'll do that, because it is a platform that is kind of like a scaffold, except now it's self-propelled, so it's in its own little category and it has its own OSHA codes. But like I said, some will throw it in, so that'll be something you have to keep in your mind as well. All right. So the good news is, this was short and sweet, I'd like to think. This finishes up Unit 1. So please hit the homework assignment. All right. It's done as a quiz format. And then when you're done with that, and you can have as many times and many attempts as you want with that, there's no time limit. Move on to the quiz. For the quiz, it's graded. You've got 3 attempts, but you have unlimited time to take that quiz. So please hit that up as well. If you have any questions, there's always the chat and cry, or you can email me. And all my contact information is right off the orientation page, and we'll go from there. In the meantime, you guys take it easy, and I will catch you on the flip side.